Elections, eh? What a fucking circus. I do not envy the Americans. Our elections have been bad for some time, but when was the last time you saw something as terrible as this current US election? What kind of choice do you have here? You have a blowhard buffoon, an ignoramus, whose saving grace is frankly that he's unlikely to be able to get anything done. And then on the other hand, you have the most establishment, staid, career politician bought into the existing corrupt system, probably corrupt herself, who's going to continue these pointless wars in the Middle East, the drone strikes, and is likely in many ways to be worse than the status quo. I mean, she buys into a lot of stuff that's going to make things very difficult for a lot of people. I mean, she misspoke during the debate, but when she was talking about, here is a man who believes that women should do as good a job as men to get paid the same. Well, duh. People who do as good a job as each other should get the same pay. But that was a misspoke, but it kind of betrays an attitude that may result in more problems. I mean, look at the issues, things like Title IX or the Dear Colleague letter, of course, on American universities. So you're really looking at the lesser of two evils, and there's not a lot in it. There really isn't. Like I say, Trump's saving grace is that he probably won't get anything done. That's not a very good reason to vote for somebody now, is it? The reason to vote for Clinton, the only really good reason to vote for Clinton is the US Supreme Court nominations. But really, I mean, across the Western world we're running into this same problem, that our democracies are just no longer working. They're no longer fit for purpose. Leaders don't lead anymore, they're all career politicians. And I'm not a believer in a strong leader, but I believe that you should try to explain and educate and lead if you're in a position of leadership, rather than to pander and to appeal to the lowest common denominator, to be a populist. I mean, both Clinton and Trump are populist windsocks. Trump more obviously and egregiously because he's not a career politician. But you look at Clinton, she was against same-sex marriage until the public was for it, and then she switched sides, That's not the mark of someone with integrity. It's the mark of someone who'll just go along with whatever. It's not someone who really seems to believe in anything, and that's equally true of Trump. People don't seem to understand the appeal of Trump, and he lies, and Clinton lies, but he is blunt and obvious about it, and it's not like he's trying to get it past you. It's just that he comes across that he is ignorant and doesn't remember what he said. That comes across bizarrely as more positive than deliberately trying to weasel around people and sneak lies past them. If he lies, he does it up front. There's a dangerous appeal to that kind of honesty in mythology, I suppose you might put it. And he also represents a rebellion against the status quo, and that's why Sanders would have been a better candidate against him, because they're both rebellions against the status quo, and the status quo is fucked all across the Western world. Less so perhaps in the European social democracies, but even there, money is what moves things. Money is what makes things happen. None of these governments are particularly responsive to the needs of their people. We're headed for some really big problems socially, lots of them driven by technology. Automation is going to drive more and more people out of work. There is simply not going to be enough work for people to do, and yet, particularly in the Anglo nations, we're stuck on this idea of the kind of Protestant work ethic. We don't see this change as an opportunity for people to pursue the things that they love, craft or art, or learning for the sake of learning. We don't see it that way. We see it as shirking. If you don't find some dead-end job to grind away, and we're reluctant to redistribute wealth in any way, to invest in people. Why? Yeah, it works out better. But you can't even really say wealth redistribution because people immediately point the finger and say socialism, which, as was said at the Labour Party conference, it should no longer be a dirty word. It is no longer a dirty word. There's ideas there. Socialism is not communism. Communism is not totalitarianism. We need to reintroduce honest discussion away from soundbites. We need people to be informed. That, after the infection of money in politics, I think the biggest problem is just how uninformed everybody is, and making decisions on who to vote for based on nothing but gut feeling. Democracy requires an educated populace. I'm struggling with this because I'm very much in favour of the people deciding things, but when the people don't have the information they need, can't get the information they need, and this, when we live in the information age, is just disheartening. There has to be a better way to do things. How could we reorganise things? Imagine we could found a new nation or tear down everything to the ground and start over. What could we do if we were writing a new Declaration of Independence and a new constitution for a new nation? What could we do to avoid these problems? To make it adaptable to the future, because there's going to be more technological shakes coming down the line. If you were to found a new nation, what would you set out to do? What do you think the focus is of such a nation should be, of governance, if you believe in governance at all, or if you believe it to be a necessity? How would you keep it under control? How would you stop the kind of corruption? How would you make the populace informed? Would you limit political participation to people who are informed? Technology opens up all kinds of possibilities along these lines. What do you think? I'm going to put some more thought into it myself, and then I'll do a video on how I would go about setting up a brand new nation or a new system of governance. And it's an interesting thought experiment. It might give us some ideas on how we could potentially, incrementally improve our own nations. Take care, guys. Peace out. I'm still having upload slowness issues, but otherwise everything appears to be fine, so I should be back. Ciao. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe. You can find me on social media, on Twitter at Grimachu, James Desborough on Facebook, James Grim Desborough on G+. My main website is postmortemstudios.wordpress.com. If you want to help me out with a little money, which will go to support my games, writing and other projects, you can do so at Patreon, which is also Grimachu.